I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Kevin, and I guess I just need to get this off my chest because I'm still kind of in shock over everything that happened. It's a long story, but I'll try to keep it straight. My wife, Emily, and I had been together for about 6 years, and we've always had what I thought was a pretty solid relationship. No major fights, good communication, and honestly, I'd never suspected she'd do something like this. We decided to get married in the countryside, small, intimate, everything scenic and perfect. Emily wanted it to be a fairy tale kind of wedding, and I was all in. We planned it for months, arranged everything, and I even went out of my way to make sure it was perfect for her. I mean, she's a bit bitchy, always throwing tantrums if things didn't go her way, but I thought that was just her personality. Deep down, I thought she loved me and I loved her. The signs started early, honestly. She started acting kind of distant a few weeks before the wedding, texting late at night, giving quick answers. When I asked about her day, I noticed she was wearing different perfume, or sometimes she'd come home after work smelling like she'd just been somewhere else. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe she was stressed, maybe she was excited about the wedding. But then her phone started acting strange. She'd hide it when I walked into the room, and I'd catch her deleting messages or clearing her search history. It was subtle, but enough to make me suspicious. Still, I tried to ignore it because I didn't want to ruin what should have been the happiest day of my life. But then came the day I'll never forget. The day I was supposed to walk her down the aisle. It was early morning and I was getting ready at our place. I still remember feeling nervous, excited, a little anxious, like every groom does. Emily was in the bathroom, fussing over her dress, looking perfect. That's when I saw her phone on the countertop, buzzing nonstop. Normally, I wouldn't pay attention, but something made me glance at it. There was a message from some guy, "Can't wait to see you tonight," and a little heart emoji. I froze. My stomach sank. I felt like I'd been punched. I wasn't sure if I was dreaming or if I was awake. I looked closer and saw a string of messages, more texts, all from the same guy, talking about how she was so excited, how much she missed him, and plans to meet up later that night after the wedding. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I was about to marry, was screwing around with my best man. I wanted to scream, to throw her phone across the room, but I just stood there numb. My head spun. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it right then. Instead, I took a picture of the messages with my phone just in case. I needed to gather my thoughts, figure out what I was going to do. But inside, I was furious, betrayed, hurt. How could she do this? How could she lie so blatantly? And my best man, too. It was like a punch to the gut. I managed to keep it together until I walked her down the aisle. But the entire time, I felt like I was just going through the motions. Instead of that happy, proud feeling I should have had, I just felt numb. My mind kept replaying the messages, imagining her in some hotel room with him while I was supposed to be getting married. I kept telling myself this couldn't be real, that I'd wake up from this nightmare. After the ceremony, I excused myself early, told everyone I was feeling sick. I went outside, found a quiet spot, and looked at the picture I took. I kept staring at it, trying to process what I just uncovered. I knew I had to talk to her, but I didn't know how. I was angry, yes, but also crushed. I kept thinking about all the promises, all the times she told me she loved me, how she said she'd always be loyal. Turns out she was lying. She'd been lying all along. And my best man, that son of a bitch, knew about it and kept quiet. I don't know whether to feel more betrayed by her or him. I still don't know what's worse, finding out right before the wedding or realizing I was just a fool to believe she was faithful. That day was supposed to be the happiest of my life, and instead it turned into the day I found out my wife was cheating on me with my best man, right under my nose. And honestly, I don't know how I'm supposed to move past that. After I found out about Emily's affair, everything just kind of shattered inside me. I couldn't focus, couldn't breathe right. The wedding was over, but I felt like I was still standing there, frozen, staring at a ghost. I didn't tell anyone at first. How could I? I didn't want to ruin my own day, and honestly, I wasn't sure what to do. Part of me was in denial, telling myself maybe I'd misunderstood, maybe it was some elaborate joke. But I knew in my gut that what I saw was real. The first thing I did was try to get my head straight. I waited until the reception was winding down, then I slipped out quietly, avoiding everyone. I drove around town aimlessly, trying to make sense of what I'd uncovered. The rage was boiling underneath, but I also felt sick, like I'd been punched repeatedly in the stomach. How could Emily do this to me? How could she lie? The way she did. She was always bitchy, always throwing tantrums, but I thought that was just her personality. Turns out she was capable of hiding a whole other life. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that moment in the bathroom, her phone buzzing with those messages. It was like a punch to my chest every time. I kept asking myself, how long has she been doing this? Did she think I'd never find out? Did she even care? The worst part was knowing she'd been lying all along, pretending to be the perfect wife while she was sleeping around with my best man. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly, kind of stupid for not seeing the signs earlier. I finally decided I needed to confront her. I wasn't going to let this slide. The next morning I went back to the house, trying to act normal, but I knew I had to get the truth out of her. I found her in the kitchen, sipping coffee, looking like she didn't have a care in the world. I just stared at her and showed her the screenshot I took. Her face flickered, and for a second I thought, try to deny it. But instead she just rolled her eyes and said, "Kevin, you're overreacting. That's not what it looks like." I was stunned. Overreacting? Are you serious? I looked her straight in the eye and told her I saw the messages, that I knew she was sleeping with my best man, Jake. Her reaction was pure arrogance. She spat back, "Oh, please, that's just sex. It doesn't mean anything. It's not like I love him." Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like I was bothering her with some petty jealousy. She said, "You're just insecure, Kevin. I don't know why you're making such a big deal out of it." That's when the anger really took over. I felt like I was about to explode. How could she be so cold, so callous? She was lying, of course, trying to spin it into some harmless fling. But I knew better. I knew this was more than just sex. It was an affair, a betrayal of everything we'd built together. And her attitude, so bitchy, so dismissive, made it worse. I couldn't believe I'd put up with her attitude all these years, only to find out she was capable of this level of deception. I told her I wanted her to pack her bags and leave. She scoffed and said, "You're overreacting. I don't see what the big deal is. Sex is just sex." I told her that sex with her best man, Jake, right before my wedding was a huge deal, that she had no right to cheat on me and lie about it. But she just shrugged and said, "Whatever, Kevin, you'll get over it. You always do." That's when I realized that she didn't care about us, about me. She was just a bitchy, selfish woman who thought she could get away with anything. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut 1,000 times. The pain was overwhelming. I trusted her, loved her, and she'd been lying and screwing around behind my back. I felt so stupid for not seeing the signs earlier. Every time she snapped at me, every little bitchy comment, I now saw it as part of her act, covering up the guilt, hiding her lies. The betrayal was so deep, I wondered how I could ever trust again. How do you heal when the woman you loved, your wife, turned out to be a liar and a cheat? It's like I had to start all over with nothing but scars and a shattered future. I stayed quiet in the house for a while after that, just staring at walls, trying to process everything. I didn't want to scream or yell. I just felt numb. The hardest part was knowing she didn't even care that she'd hurt me so badly. She was still acting like she was the victim, like I was overreacting. That just made me more furious. How dare she? How dare she lie with that bitchy attitude and act like she's the victim? I never felt so insignificant and betrayed in my life. All I could think about was how this was going to change everything. My trust, my future, maybe even my sanity. After that confrontation, I knew I couldn't just pretend nothing happened. I felt like I was walking around with a hole in my chest. The betrayal cut so deep that I started questioning everything: my judgment, her loyalty, my own worth. I couldn't believe I'd married a woman who was capable of lying to my face, cheating on me with my best man, and then acting like I was overreacting. My mind kept circling around all the moments I missed, all the signs I ignored, and every time I tried to think about the future, it just felt bleak and uncertain. I spent the next few days trying to make sense of what to do. Honestly, I was in a daze, feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and a stubborn need to figure out my next move. I knew I had to confront Jake, her so-called best man, the guy I trusted more than anyone after my own family. I wanted to do something, say something, that would make him regret ever betraying me like that. But at the same time, part of me worried about what I'd find. Was he just some guy who couldn't keep his dick in his pants? Or did he have some deeper agenda? I didn't have all the answers yet. One night, I decided to do some digging. I went through her phone again, looking for more evidence or clues. That's when I discovered she'd been meeting Jake for weeks, sometimes late at night, sometimes during the day when I was at work. I found texts where she called him her escape, and he'd told her she was so sexy, so irresistible. It made me sick. I also found pictures, stupid little selfies they took together, some of her in bed, some of her in hotel rooms. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How could I not see the signs? She was lying right in front of me, all these little clues. At this point, I was furious. I felt like I'd been played, not just betrayed by her, but also by my best friend Jake. I couldn't believe I'd trusted him, and now I saw that their affair had been going on secretly behind my back for weeks. I kept thinking about that day, her lying to my face, telling me she was just stressed, that sex was just sex. But I knew better now. Sex with her at that point wasn't just sex. It was a betrayal, a slap in the face of everything I believed in. I kept asking myself how she could be so callous, so bitchy and dismissive, and still lie as if she didn't give a damn about me. The worst part about discovering all this was that I also saw how she manipulates people, how she lies her way out of trouble. She's never been someone who takes responsibility. She always blames others, acts like she's the victim. But I knew the truth now. She was the real villain in this story. And Jake, same thing. Both of them thought they were so clever, hiding their affair under my nose, laughing at me behind my back. I decided I had to confront both of them separately. I wanted to hear what they had to say, see if they'd admit to anything. But honestly, I wasn't hopeful. I felt like I was dealing with two people who thought they were above consequence. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't stay with Emily, not after what she did. The trust was gone. The girl I married, the girl I loved, turned out to be a selfish, bitchy woman who only cared about her own pleasure. And Jake? He was supposed to be my friend, but he'd been sleeping with my wife for weeks. I started to feel this emptiness inside. It's like my entire world was collapsing, piece by piece. I didn't cry because I was angry, but I also felt so sad, so incredibly sad. I kept replaying all the good times, the promises, the plans for our future. For a moment, I wondered if I'd ever love again, if I could ever trust anyone again. I kept telling myself that it was better to find out now than later, but inside, I felt crushed. How do you move on when the person you trusted most turns out to be the biggest liar? How do you pick up the pieces of a life that's been shattered by betrayal? I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, constantly haunted by what I uncovered. I needed clarity, and that meant confronting her, then deciding what I was going to do next. I feel like I've been living in a fog for days, just trying to hold it together. I keep asking myself if I should forgive, if I can forgive, or if I should just cut her out entirely. Honestly, I don't know if I'm strong enough right now to forgive her. Maybe I never will be. All I know is that this isn't just a betrayal. It's a hole in my heart that might never heal. The confrontation with Emily was as cold and bitter as I expected. I couldn't hold back anymore. The moment I saw her in the living room, acting like everything was normal, I just snapped. I threw the pictures I found on the table, the selfies, the hotel room shots, the messages. I didn't even bother with pleasantries. I just let her have it. "How long, Emily? How long have you been screwing around with Jake behind my back?" I asked, voice trembling with rage. She looked at the pictures, her bitchy attitude fading for a split second. Then she rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Oh, come on, Kevin, that's just sex. It doesn't mean a thing, you're overreacting." She snapped back, crossing her arms like she was some queen dismissing a peasant. I couldn't believe it. Her tone, her attitude, it was so dismissive, so bitchy, like she thought her lies could just brush this whole thing under the rug. I felt my blood boil. I wasn't going to take her bullshit anymore. "Are you serious? Just sex? You lied to me every day, acted like you were the perfect wife, and then I find all this," I said, waving the pictures. "You think sex with Jake is just sex? You think I'm stupid? I saw the messages, you're lying right now, so don't even try to deny it." Her face twisted into a sneer. "Kevin, you're so insecure. You think every guy is after me. It's just a little fun. I don't love Jake. I don't love anyone but you. You're just jealous because I look better than your damn best man, and he's easier to be with because you're so uptight all the time. Maybe if you loosen up, you'd understand that sometimes things just happen." She was so bitchy, so cold, I almost didn't recognize her. She was trying to twist everything around, making herself the victim like I was the one at fault. I felt a mix of disgust and heartbreak. How could she be so dismissive? How could she lie so easily? I told her I wanted her out of the house, that I couldn't live with her anymore. She just laughed and said, "Go ahead, kick me out. I don't care. You're nothing without me, Kevin. You're just a boring, insecure loser who can't keep his wife." Happy? That was the moment I realized I was wasting my breath. I saw her true face, this manipulative, bitchy woman who thought she could get away with anything. I could feel my fists clenched, my jaw tight. I was so angry I could hardly keep myself from punching something. But I also knew that this was just the beginning. I spent the next few days in a whirlwind. I couldn't focus, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Jake, saw her dismissing me like I was nothing. I kept replaying her words, her attitude, and the way she tried to make me feel guilty for being insecure. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I'd been living in her shadow for too long. I was always trying to keep her happy, always trying to fix things, but she was just using me. Using my trust, my love, and then tossing it all aside for sex with her best man. I started reaching out to friends, asking for advice. Some told me to cut her out, move on, and never look back. Others said I should try to repair it, but honestly, at that point, I didn't see how that was possible. How do you come back from knowing your wife, your partner, your best friend, all lied and betrayed you so blatantly? The trust was gone, like shattered glass scattered everywhere. One thing I kept feeling was this deep sense of loss. Not just losing Emily, but losing the idea of what I thought we had. I kept thinking of all the moments I thought were real, her saying she loved me, planning the future, her bitchy little attitude that I used to dismiss as part of her personality. Turns out, all of it was just a mask. She was hiding all this from me, and I was too blind to see it. The hardest part was facing the fact that I was alone now. I had nobody left I could really trust. Even my own feelings felt betrayed. I kept asking myself if I was overreacting, if I should just forgive her because she was hot, and because maybe it was just sex. But deep down, I knew better. I knew that once trust is broken like this, it's almost impossible to fix. So I decided I'd have to make a choice. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore, and I was damn sure not going to stay in a marriage built on lies and betrayal. I had to figure out what was best for me, whether to fight for reconciliation or to cut my losses completely. But one thing was clear: my life was never going to be the same after this. I was left with scars that I didn't know how to heal, and the pain of betrayal was just beginning to settle in. The decision to leave or stay haunted me for days. At first, I thought maybe I could forgive her, just wipe the slate clean and pretend none of this ever happened. But every time I looked at her bitchy face, I saw the lies, the betrayal, and the utter disregard for what we had. It was like a switch had flipped inside me, and I realized I couldn't keep pretending anymore. I couldn't be with someone so selfish, so manipulative, who thought sex was just some meaningless thing, that her lies didn't matter, that I was just some insecure loser. So I started planning my next move. I knew I had to get out of that house before I completely lost it. I threw some of my stuff in a bag and booked a hotel for a few nights. I needed space, clarity. Meanwhile, I called a lawyer, trying to find out what my rights were, what I would do if I filed for divorce. Part of me felt numb, like I was watching everything unfold from a distance, but another part was seething with rage. How could she do this? How could she cheat on me with my best man and then act like I was the crazy one? That bitch. The day I sat her down to tell her I was leaving, her attitude was even more bitchy than usual. She rolled her eyes, pouted, and said, "You're overreacting. You always blow things out of proportion. Just calm down, Kevin." That was her way of dismissing everything, like I was the problem, not her. I looked at her, feeling this strange mix of sadness and anger, and finally blurted out, "I know everything, Emily. The messages, the hotel, the meetings, I saw all of it. I want you out of my life." her face twisted into a sneer. Whatever, Kevin, you're just jealous because you're boring and insecure. Jake's the one who actually makes me feel alive. Maybe you should take a look in the mirror and ask why I cheated on you in the first place. That was the moment I knew I couldn't stay with her anymore. Her words cut deep, but I also felt an immense relief, like I was finally freeing myself from this nightmare. I told her to pack her things and leave, and she did, bitching and crying but still acting like she was the victim. That part made me angry all over again. How could someone be so cold, so petty? She had no remorse, no regret, just that bitchy attitude that somehow made her feel superior. Once she was gone, I felt an odd sense of emptiness. The house was silent, and I was alone with my thoughts. I'd never been good at dealing with heartbreak, but this was something else. I was angry at her, furious at Jake, and also devastated that the woman I married turned out to be a lying, cheating bitch. I kept replaying the moments we shared, all the promises she made, and wondered how I missed the signs. I betrayed myself, I guess, for trusting her so blindly. For days I stayed in that hotel just trying to process everything. I was angry, but there was also this lingering sadness, this ache that refused to go away. Every time I thought about her with Jake, I felt a wave of nausea. How did I not see this coming? How did I let her manipulate me for so long? I hated the way she dismissed everything, like she was above accountability, like she could do whatever she wanted without consequences. In that time, I also reached out to some friends, people I knew I could trust. I confided in one close buddy, Mark, and he told me I was better off without her, that I deserved someone who actually cared about me, not some bitchy cheat. He said it was a blessing in disguise, that I'd find someone who would respect me, who wouldn't lie, who wouldn't treat me like a doormat. Honestly, that gave me a little hope, but I still felt broken inside. The hardest part was realizing how much I'd invested emotionally, how I'd given her everything, only to get back lies and betrayal. I kept thinking about all the future plans, all the good times I'd envisioned, and how they'd been shattered in moments. I was left with scars, scars that I knew would take a long time to heal. But deep down, I also knew I had to move on. I had to rebuild my life, brick by brick, piece by piece. What I learned through all of this is that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to repair. That some people, like Emily, are just manipulative, selfish, and willing to throw everything away for sex and fleeting pleasure. And that sometimes, the best thing you can do is walk away, even if it hurts like hell. Because you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed, and you definitely can't force love where there's only betrayal. I'm still hurting, I won't lie, but I know I'll get through it. I have to. Now, sitting here a few weeks after everything exploded, I realize how much I've learned from this mess. Honestly, I never saw myself as someone who'd get played so badly, but that's life, I guess. It's brutal and unforgiving, and it strips you down to your core. But I also learned something else, something I wish I'd realized sooner. Trust isn't just a word. It's a fragile thing you build with someone, and once it's broken, it's damn near impossible to fix. Emily and Jake proved that to me in the worst way possible. Looking back, I see now that Emily was always a bitchy, manipulative woman. She'd throw tantrums, lie, cheat, and then act like she was the victim when things didn't go her way. I was so blind, so eager to believe in the fairy tale she sold me. I thought she loved me, but all she really cared about was herself. That realization hits hard, hard enough to make me question everything I thought I knew about love and trust. The worst part is how I allowed myself to be manipulated for so long. I kept trying to fix things, keep her happy, make her smile. That's what I thought love was. But love isn't about bending over backward for someone who only cares about her own pleasure. It's about respect, honesty, and loyalty. Emily had none of those. She just lied, and I was too stupid to see it until it was almost too late. As I write this, I'm finally starting to accept that walking away was the only choice I had. Staying with her would have meant accepting the lies, the betrayal, the bitchy attitude, and probably a lifetime of more pain. And I refuse to be that guy. I refuse to be someone who stays in a toxic, manipulative relationship just because I'm scared of being alone. Because honestly, being alone beats being with someone who doesn't value you at all. I've learned that some people are just selfish, and they don't deserve your trust or your love. You have to stand up for yourself, even when it hurts. You have to walk away from the lies, the manipulations, and the bullshit. Because if you don't, you're just setting yourself up for more pain down the line. So here I am trying to put the pieces back together. It's not easy. Some nights are still rough, and I catch myself thinking about her, about Jake. But I remind myself I'm better off without them. I'm better off alone than in a relationship built on lies. I've started to rediscover who I am, what I want, what I deserve, and what I won't put up with anymore. I guess, in a way, I'm grateful that I found out the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Because now I know the kind of woman Emily really is, and I won't make the mistake of trusting someone like her again. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing. I'm done being the fool who ignored all the signs. I'm done with the lies, the betrayal, and the bitchy attitude. I'm finally ready to move on, to find happiness on my own terms, without someone who's only out for herself. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, trust me, it hurts like hell, but you'll survive. You'll come out stronger. And someday, you'll look back and realize that you're better off without the liars and cheats. Because real love, real trust is worth waiting for. And you deserve someone who will cherish you, not tear you apart.